That was one of the strangest matches I have ever seen. Despite Arsenal playing the entire second half in a 10-man, Manchester City only tied 2-2 after the equalizing goal in the 98th minute. Why, despite having the advantage, the attack was ineffective? And what small change could have helped them win the match? Let's find out. Welcome to Behind the Game.
4, 3, 2, 1. Behind the Game.
Arsenal had 4 shots in the first half, of which 2 were converted into goals. I think one of these goals could have been avoided. Since the start of last season, the Gunners have scored 24 goals from set pieces in the Premier League. This is the best result of all the teams. A quarter of those goals, 6, were scored by Gabriel Magalhaes, making him the best centre-back in the Premier League. Your opponent has a corner, and since you know that Gabriel is the top scorer, you don't allow the player who is responsible for covering to be Doku. Doku is 17 centimeters shorter, probably 20 kilograms lighter, and I don't know how he would stop Gabriel playing in the end. I can't believe Pep Guardiola hasn't worked out which player is responsible for whom. It's hard to imagine that he overlooks such a detail. Arsenal have a corner kick, and the positioning of the City players already gives a clear suggestion that there is no point to play to the near post because there are too many blue players. Arsenal players line up at the long post and they have one task: to make space for Gabriel and let him shoot. He freely escapes Doku, the ball is played to the long post and Gabriel literally misses it by millimeters, but it's the first warning for City. A few minutes later, there is a second corner kick, and this time Pep Guardiola has made a change. Kyle Walker covers Gabriel, but he breaks free once again. The ball is played to exactly the same place and Arsenal lead 2-1. All the players gathered at the near post are worthless. There is no point for them to be there when the biggest threat is at the long post, and Arsenal took advantage of that. After the red card for Trossard, Arsenal came out for a second half in a 5-4 or 6-3 formation, with Mikel Arteta consciously deciding that his players would spend the entire 45 minutes in their own penalty area without even trying to pretend to attack Ederson's goal. It looked like the coaches had set up the exercise in training, defenders against attackers. Only the attackers in this case were very ineffective. Let's check what was the reason. Manchester City had 28 shots in the second half, only 9 of which were on target. Considering that Arsenal defended very deep, it was almost impossible to enter the penalty area, so the only option left was shots from distance. However, most of them were unprepared, and it looked promising because Silva very cleverly passed the ball into the free zone. Kovacic was already waiting there. However, the shot was inaccurate, but the attempt was okay. It was worse later. Why? Because most of the shots were inaccurate, unprepared or blocked. What could City have done better? They lack faster distribution of the ball and a bit of cleverness. They lack a one-touch play, like in this situation when Kovacic holds the ball for too long, and it would have been enough to play the first ball to Diaz so that he could take a shot. In the next situation, Akanji played on one touch and Kovacic could only set the ball for Diaz to shoot, instead of passing it to the other side. Here, Doku won one-on-one and was in perfect position to pass to Akanji for a shot, instead of playing into the penalty area. Calafiori scored a goal from a similar position in the first half. Ruben Diaz is a great defender, but he is not the best playmaker. In the moments when he had to distribute the ball, he did it inaccurately, slowly. He had problems with quickly controlling the ball. He is not the best shooter either. He had 5 shots, only 1 of which was on target, 1 blocked, 3 away. He often had forced, unprepared and inaccurate shots. And so, looking at Diaz, I thought, what if the City defenders, who had no offensive task at all, were replaced by 3 players with the best long-range shoots? Phil Foden, Ilkay Gundogan, Erling Haaland. I know it's crazy, but Haaland had 5 shots in the second half, only 1 of which was a threat. It was a cross after a corner kick. In other situation, he did not threaten David Raya's goal. Maybe he would have been more effective closer to 16 meters, where is more space to shoot, and then the tall Akanji, Diaz and Walker would have gone into the penalty area. It's very difficult to play against a team that is set up in the penalty area with the whole team defending the goal. It's not easy to find space between the defenders and play the through pass. However, City managed to do it. Silva approached to the side and creating space for a through pass. Although this pass was inaccurate, it was a good idea to reach Arsenal goal. Why there were not more actions like this? Here, Silva again comes to the through ball, taking one of the defenders with him and creating space for Kyle Walker to shoot. However, Akanji played differently. In a similar situation, this time Silva went inside and wasted a chance for a through ball, despite the space to pass. The next situation shows how important it would be if Guardiola went out on a through ball, took the defender away and created space for Akanji. In this way, they have a 2 versus 1 with Doku with a defender, an ideal situation on wing. In the best situation to play a through ball, Doku decided to dribble and the play is interrupted. City players completely failed to use the moments when a player's movement creates space for another player. Manchester City saved the result in the 98th minute, but they could have created better chances playing 11 on 10 for 45 minutes. Eliminating the mistakes in defense and playing faster in attack would have certainly allowed them to achieve a better result. Nevertheless, it was an interesting match, I will never forget it. Thanks for watching, see you next week.